do you think Zion is out of line for not wanting to play for the Pelicans or being a distant teammate? JJ Redick went on First Take and called them a detached teammate. Mm-hmm. And for JJ to say that is telling because he doesn't call out players. He's very fair. So that was a huge indictment. And it all stemmed from CJ McCollum saying that he hadn't talked to Zion since being traded to the Pelicans. Now, what do you think about this? The Pelicans also didn't feature Zion in their season ticket holder email that they sent out to their season ticket holders. So what do you think about Zion? What do you think about the situation? I'll start with you, Riv.
Well, CJ did also come out and say he's a young kid, leave him alone. Yeah. And JJ and Zion have the same agent. So it looks funny. But I'm going to say this. The Pelicans I'm going to start with that. The Pelicans not having him on their season, I guess they just don't know if he's going to be here next year. And I don't look at that as a bad thing because I think, with all the things happening and with Zion being so distant, they're confused right now. They don't know where he's going to be next year, if he's going to be here or he's going to be in another team. Knicks. Yes, no. But yeah, but all right, whatever. So
possibility.
It is.
Yeah. For Zion, though, I think, the qualities of a leader, I think the qualities of a leader, reaching out to your teammates, being there for your teammates, being that type of player that just shows that mentorship, talking to your teammates. I think Zion lacks a little bit of leadership abilities, leadership qualities, and that's okay. Not everybody is a leader. Not everybody could be Chris Paul, Magic Johnson, LeBron James. Not everybody can be that. It's okay to not be a leader. Not everybody can do that. So I think him being detached, it can be looked at as a bad thing, but I also could think it's just that's just his character. Even in college and in high school, Zion wasn't a person in high school. He was one of the most famous players in the league, and he didn't like that. He was very I don't like to be that too famous. He was just a kid that just wanted to hoop. And in college, he was kind of the same way. RJ was kind of the one that kind of liked the spotlight. Zion really doesn't like the spotlight.
That's interesting.
It's been shown since high school. The track record is there.
But do you remember when we were on the Spaces and this guy was trying to tell us that Zion really is one of those guys that wants that mainstream media attention, which is why he's trying to make his way onto the...
Maybe it's possible deep. Maybe he's saying that to his family, but what from?
Because him going to Duke, he had to know that he was going to get a different level of
what
exposure.
I'm seeing, from what I've seen in the media, he doesn't look like the type of guy that likes that spotlight. Mm-hmm. So I think for right now, him being this, I think maybe he's talked to his teammates, maybe behind closed doors, but I don't think it's a good look for a team that's trying to rebuild, trying to get back into playoff contention. I think for a person like Zion, him being the best player in your team, being detached, not wanting to play. And I think he's completely wrong in that sense, not wanting to play for the Pelicans because you haven't given it enough time to really blossom. You got Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram has improved since he got in the league. You just got CJ McCollum. You got Devontae Graham. Granted, he's a good player. You got Jonas Valanciunas. He's a really good player. You picked up Herb Jones in the draft. Kira Lewis Jr. He's not a bad player. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, he's gone, but he was okay for them. So you've had opportunities. The Pelicans have shown since AD that they invested. They're trying to invest in Zion. They're trying to build the team here. Now, whether it's the best, they're making the best moves, you can debate that, but they're at least giving the effort. And when you give the effort, I think that should show signs of, all right, I can rock with this team. They're giving me efforts. They're trying to put guys next to you. So I think for Zion, him being on his rookie deal, him only playing about 84 games in his NBA career, I think you don't have the groundworks. As much as you were great when you played, but that's the problem. You don't have the groundworks to really say, I don't want to be here or have these decisions when you haven't really played enough to really have that statement. We haven't made the playoffs yet with you. Granted, it's not your fault, but you've been hurt. We haven't made the playoffs yet with you. We haven't even sniffed a play-in with you, and right now we have an opportunity to do that.
We haven't seen you this year.
Yeah, Weren't they 11 last year, though?
They were 11th or 12th.
No, they were 12th.
Were they 12th?
And right now, they're close. They were just in the play-in, if I'm not mistaken, right before the All-Star break. You just picked up CJ McCollum. Him and Brandon Ingram have a little bit of chemistry together. They've shown the ability to work. So I think right now, you have an opportunity to say, even if it's not this year, I could come back healthy next year, and we got a squad. You know what I'm saying? We got a good team that we can make this work. So I think for Zion, I think this is just it's young players have come into this league and they've been given the keys too much or too fast. They've been given this type of leeway, and I think Zion is just being a little bit too, I don't want to say
entitled.
Yeah, that, but not that. But I think
that's basically what you're saying.
I think he should just definitely give the Pelicans an opportunity, at least throughout the rookie deal. At least give them to your rookie deal. And they've shown the ability that they're trying to build a team around Zion.
This is one of those situations where I definitely understand both perspectives. Here's the one perspective that I'm not going to side with. John Morant's on the Grizzlies, right? The Grizzlies aren't a prime time location for superstars to really thrive. It's not a mainstream market. But he's doing it. He's going through that process, and he's trying to put the Grizzlies on the map, which he's done a good job of doing so far into his career. He's amazing. He's box office. Yes, he's willing to put that effort in. So that's that side that I see of, listen, you're not in the mainstream media. You're not in that alpha type environment. You still should try and stick it out and ride your rookie deal. I get that because we're seeing John Moran do it, who was the number 2 pick in that draft. However, this whole thing where I see it, or people are trying to tell me that this mentality from Zion is weak, I can't side with. I don't like that perspective because I see it like this. He's already getting scrutinized to no end. He's getting called fat. He's getting called lazy. He's getting called a quitter. But it's not like he wants to leave and go to a championship team. It seems as if he wants to go to the Knicks, which is a mainstream, high-market team that is not championship ready. If he were going to a championship-ready team, my opinion would be completely different. He's not going to a winner right now. He wants to go to a place where he would be broadcasted around the world. He could become the face of the league if he delivers a championship to New York. Now, it would be a process to do so. And we were speaking about this a little bit on the spaces, so if you had some time to think about it and go against what I'm going to say, I'd love to go deeper into conversation, but there is nothing like bringing a championship to Madison Square Garden. There is no franchise that you could look at in the NBA that rides for their team harder than the New York Knicks fans. And that's the truth.
That's a fact.
You look at how New York blew up when Jeremy Lin and Lin Sanity was going on. Now imagine that times 500 with Zion Williamson coming in.
That'd be sick.
He would be coming in and trying to change the culture of the Knicks. He would come in and have players want to come play with him because he is that great at basketball. He understands that. If I'm going to New York, the pressure is going to be 50 times what I'm already would be facing if I'm on the Pelicans. Because now I just forced my way out of New Orleans. I'm coming to New York with some of the most cutthroat fans in the NBA. If I don't deliver a championship to the city, if I don't produce at the minimum for the city of New York, people are not going to see me how I want to be seen. I want to go global. I want to be the face of the NBA. He can do so in New York. He cannot do so in New Orleans.
I have a question. If it's not a weak mentality, if you don't like that wording, then what is the word that you would use to describe what Zion's doing to the Pelicans?
Quitting?
That's fair, right? I just don't think that it's a weak thing. Weak in the sense of he's going to a place where he's going to have more scrutiny, more pressure. That's New York City.
Yeah, that's not quitting. I agree with him.
It's not a weak mentality.
It's not.
He would be quitting on New Orleans. Yes, ultimately that's what he's doing. He would be betraying New Orleans. Yeah,
He's going for a grind
he's
that's
trying
about
to
the
get
same.
to another level. He knows his skill set. He showed it in year 2, 27 points on 61% EFG. He's like that.
Yeah, using the EFG.
He's tough.
And I appreciate you guys for putting me on. But let's just be real. He came in year 2, was a top 20 player in the NBA.
I don't.
No.
He
really was.
Wait. That's not what I was about to disagree
Oh.
with. I was gonna say I don't think the grind would be harder in New York
Really?
than New Orleans. I don't think so.
Why?
From just a
I think it's about the same, bro.
from
But
just
it's not, my point
New Orleans
is, I
has
don't
more
say-
talent right now.
I want to
No,
say, I
hold
understand what you're saying. I would say it's not going to be as difficult as New Orleans, excuse me. However, it's different than going to a Phoenix. He's still building it.
He's trying to build something.
Basically from scratch.
Yeah.
Not from scratch, but ultimately he's going to be the piece there that ignites the Knicks to go to that level.
I don't think when people say built it from scratch, you confuse me when you say that.
Because you're saying the draft is scratch.
No, it's not that. A big market is never building from scratch. There's no such thing as that for a big market. I feel like when you're a big market like a Miami is never really building from scratch because they're always in contention for a star, or they're always in contention for agent because they're a big market. Even though New York
hasn't got anybody in the last 20 years.
Even though New York hasn't gotten anybody, they've always, if you ever noticed, they've always been in talks with the big stars, big names.
Would you say Philly started from scratch with the process?
You can say Philly.
Okay.
You can say Philly started from the scratch with the process, but I don't think
why can't we say it for the Knicks if they haven't really done anything from scratch?
I don't think if they get Zion, I don't think they'd be starting from scratch. I think with the Pelicans, you really had to there's nobody going.
Zion was starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
In New Orleans?
Yeah, I don't think nobody's going to New Orleans. I don't I think
that's tough because it's a tough situation there because trading AD, they got Brandon Ingram, who's now their second.
But you're talking about the draft. I'm talking about free agency. Nobody's going to New Orleans. You're gonna have to build your stars.
You don't think anybody would go play with Zion?
No, not New Orleans.
It's not just a Zion.
People weren't
Nobody
going
go play with Chris Paul, bro.
No one was going to Cleveland to play with LeBron.
It's
that's true.
Small markets, and I feel bad for them. They just don't get those. Even the Bucks, they had to trade for Drew Holiday. That was a trade. Chris Middleton was a luck in the draft.
A second
Giannis
round pick,
he got better in the draft.
Chris Middleton.
You got him.
No, but I say he was a luck in the draft.
Yeah.
They didn't
he was
draft
a second
him,
round
he
pick.
was a luck in, these are lucks in the draft. They just built. They got Bobby Portis, Dante. He was a draft pick. You have to
Pat
build.
Connaughton.
Yeah, you have to build. The Spurs dynasty was draft. They had to draft him.
To build.
Tony Parker,
Manu. He was the first overall.
Yeah,
pick.
but I say you have to draft. These markets, you kind of have to draft your way, and then you get the small guys in free agency, the role players,
and you trade.
So I think it would be in New York. As much as people like to laugh at them for not getting these star players, if they get Zion, though,
everything changes.
Everything looks different.
Before you go, JC, I want to say this. I feel like everybody is misinterpreting the Zion Williamson situation, and they're making it bigger than it has to be. Whether or not he wants to play for the Pelicans or not, we aren't sure of. There's not anything out there that says that he's not coming back to the Pelicans. There's no definitive evidence. He is frustrated, and he doesn't trust David Griffin. Reports say his family doesn't. They don't trust David Griffin, who's in charge, and he has made some questionable moves. He traded Drew Holiday for Eric Bledsoe. He brought in Steven Adams, which made their lineup virtually have no spacing with Bledsoe, Adams, and then some. Then Zion basically vouched for Lonzo Ball and said he wanted Lonzo back. They didn't bring him back. And I know the Pelicans got better this offseason, but there is a reason as to why his family is skeptical of David Griffin. But there has not been no report that Zion wants out of New Orleans. There has not been any report that he wants to go to the Knicks, and we've made this a Zion to the Knicks thing, but there's been no reports. The facts right now are that Zion has a foot injury, and he had to get reevaluated in December because while working out, he re-injured it. And right now he's rehabbing. That's the fact of it. His rookie season, he didn't play, partly due to the Pelicans not wanting to put him out there just yet. It wasn't all Zion. Zion was dealing with some nicks and knacks here and there, some injuries, but really it was the Pelicans restricting Zion. And that's where I think Zion got fed up at first. But in his second season, Zion played virtually the entire year.
66 games, right?
Yeah, so we have seen proof before that if Zion is not held back by an injury, he is going out there and playing. He wants to play. Ultimately, Zion wants to be out there. Right now, this isn't like a Ben Simmons situation where he's just not playing for the organization because he doesn't want to play. Zion has an injury. He can't play right now. He actually has an injury. And I'm under the belief that come next season when he's healthy, he's going to play for the Pelicans. He's not going to get traded. He's going to stay with the Pelicans. And this story is going to feel like it gets why did we even have it? Mm-hmm. Because you look at what the Pelicans are building right now. They're building a goddamn good team. And if Zion doesn't want to be a part of this, then I have a problem with that because Brandon Ingram has really figured it out this year as a playmaker. We know he's a star. CJ is a star.
He has been playing out of his mind since
Jonas Valanciunas, if they re-sign him, he's a top 10 center in the NBA you can debate. Zion Williamson what Ja Morant did with Memphis this past season, there's no reason with the roster the Pelicans have, Zion can't do that next season with Herb Jones in his second year, Jose Alvarado being a defensive pest, and he's really a spark for that team. Devontae Graham, if Zion plays, he's coming off the bench. So the Pelicans have a lot of good pieces. Jackson Hayes now being moved to the 4 has really expanded his game. He's really gotten better. So this team has it, and you guys have heard me say I've been high on Willie Green since he got signed. I'm very high on Willie Green. I just think because Zion hasn't played and because the hype around him coming out of college has been so grand, people have doubts and they're skeptical of if Zion, is he playing because he doesn't want to play for the Pelicans or some other reason. It's just that he's injured. I think the fact of the matter is it's just that he's injured now. And although JJ did say Zion is a detached teammate, Stan Van Gundy, who was his coach in his second season, said when Zion was playing, he was anything but. And need I say, you don't have to be the best
more credible
leader. No, he's saying someone credible.
No, I said who's more credible, JJ or Stan?
Stan was his coach.
I understand what he's saying, though. JJ is very active.
For one, I'll say this about JJ. We know he's one of the best guys in the media
right now.
For sure. There's no debate. He's not a hot take guy. He says everything. He thinks it through. So I love JJ. I love what he says. But he's somebody that when he left the Pelicans, called out and bashed David Griffin. He said on his podcast he wouldn't trust David Griffin. Mm-hmm. He tried his best to hold his tongue. I know he could have said a lot more, but he held it back. So this is a guy that played for the organization that's saying, I wouldn't trust this guy.
So wouldn't that make the reports of Zion's family saying we don't trust David?
I think they're true. I do think they're true. I don't think Zion or his family trust David Griffin. That being said, I don't think it's to the point that Zion is going to intentionally sit out and not play.
It doesn't get ugly when they drop their season tickets and he's nowhere near on the info packet.
That's a fact.
That's ugly.
That kind of never happened.
That is a PR slip up.
How that is the worst slip up.
That's a PR slip up.
That's your franchise player.
You think so?
That's your franchise player.
But let's be honest. I know. We're talking about Zion. We're talking about someone who's on.
It's a PR.
Is it corrected?
That ain't a slip up.
You can't slip up.
Did they correct it?
I mean, I'm not sure what went on in that decision. I'm not, because the guys who do those graphics are the people who work in the ticket office, and the PR people, I think, ultimately approve those things. But I don't think it's David Griffin, or it can be. I'm not saying it's somebody at the top there that's like, oh, don't put Zion on here. It might have just been a slip up. If it was, it's a horrible mistake. I get it. But
one of the worst.
Ultimately, what I'm saying is that even if Zion doesn't trust David Griffin, I don't think it's enough to where he's going to demand a trade in the summer or he's going to not play for them, because I do believe the Pelicans are building something good right now. And to the leadership thing, I mean, Kobe Bryant's one of the greatest players to ever play. You can argue he's a top 10 player all time, top 5, some people say. I read Three Ring Circus, a book by Jeff Pearlman. It's actually right there. And it documents the three-peat of the Lakers, the late 90s and early 2000s Lakers. Kobe Bryant was one of the more to himself people at that time. Most people on that team could not stand him. He was introverted. He was socially awkward. He was anything but a leader. Zion Williamson is 21 years old. We are being way too harsh on him to have this expectation of him to be this off rip. And what CJ said was facts. Leave the guy alone. And he actually elaborated on it, said, when you are dealing with an injury and you're rehabbing, you are away from the team. And I like how Zion kind of tried to make all this dimmed down a little bit by posting on his story. He's starting to post more Pelican stuff on his story. I think it's a bit funny, but ultimately, I think he's getting way too much scrutiny, and I think we're going to be looking back at this time like it was unwarranted and unjust, in my opinion.
I mean, just to go off what you guys all said, I mean, I'd be surprised if I see Zion in a Pelicans uniform after his rookie deal's over. I think that he's going to be completely gone. And while he is young and he has made mistakes, I mean, this is the same Zion who's played 84 games in just 3 seasons. That's barely an NBA season. Although he's been in rehab, he's been overweight. His family has has, to what Joel said, not been a fan of David Griffin. There's been a couple setbacks, but there's been interviews where I know it's just speculation on my part, but he spoke glowingly of the Knicks. Like, he really said, like, this is like my favorite place to play for besides New Orleans. He was expecting to be drafted by the New York Knicks come draft night, but, obviously that didn't happen. Bad luck for the Knicks, but, I mean, I just think with everything that's going on and him not talking to his teammates, or not talking to them now, but, reaching out to CJ McCollum, who's a big acquisition in the time, for you not to even reach out to him, I think that's a little crazy. And then for the Pelicans not to add him on their ticket package plan, like, how are you not going to add your franchise player? The NBA is low key, or was, I don't know if there are anymore. We're pushing for this guy to be the face of the NBA. So the fact that you just leave him off,
it's not a slip up.
It's not a slip up. So I think that's something, that behind the scenes. But as crazy as it sounds, I kind of feel like the Pelicans have a little bit of, like, I think this doesn't end too bad for him because, like Drew said, Zion averaged 27, 8, and I believe 5 assists on 61% field goal percentage. So he has a ton, and I mean a ton of value. So in the grand scheme of things, if it really doesn't work out, you could get a lot for this kid. You can get a lot for this kid, and you could even be an asshole of franchise and be like, all right, so you want to go play for the Knicks? I'm going to trade you where I want to trade you, where I could get the most value for you. You're telling me if they're making trades for Zion and they put him on the block, you're telling me not every NBA team is going to inquire about that kid?
Every single one.
And you choose from the best package that's available for you? So the Pelicans, I don't like using the word leverage because I feel like that's been played out from the Nets and Sixers trades, how we were saying those type of words. But
Zion, no loyalty.
They don't, just like how he's, I don't want to say he's not, because he has been hurt, but just his mannerism and how he's gone about things, I feel like he has to be better at that. I mean, bro, you're coming into the season. There was a report that you were 320 pounds, bro. You were 320 pounds. Like, people were clowning on you because you were fat. You have all the talent in the world. So at the end of the day, what Joel said is facts. The Pelicans are trying their best to build something for you. They care about you. You're the guy that they ultimately gave up for their other franchise guy in Anthony Davis, who also didn't want to be there. You got Devontae Graham's a solid point guard. CJ McCollum has been on an absolute tear since he's gone there. Brandon Ingram, nuts. I'm very high on Brandon Ingram. I think he's one of the best young players in the league. Then you got Jonas Valanciunas, a solid center. So the Pelicans have done their part. But at the end of the day, if this doesn't work out, the Pelicans are in a good position, bro, because you can trade Zion Williamson, and you're going to get a boatload for that kid. Because this kid, when he's healthy, we've seen the type of product that he can lay out on that basketball court. It's like a generational talent that he has. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for my argument, I'd be surprised if I see Zion in a Pelicans uniform past his rookie deal. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion that he's going to be gone. He's not going to want to play there, and if he keeps showing these type of things, they're not going to want him back.
So if that's the case, do you think maybe it's best to just trade him in general? Because if he just walks away,
you're not getting anything.
You don't get anything back.
That's what I'm saying.
He can't just walk away, though.
Well, yeah, I know.
Well, after his rookie deal, he means.
He can't either.
They can.
He's restricted?
They could. Yeah,
everybody's restricted. Yeah.
Okay.
The team has a lot of rights.
They got a lot of thinking to do.
A lot.
He's basically stuck with the Pelicans for 9 years unless he gets traded. Or they for some reason don't pick up a qualifying offer and they let him go into unrestricted free agency. So,
but then he could hold out. He could hold out and do what the James Hardens have done in the world, not want to play. I'm not saying he's doing that now because he's injured right now, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But we've seen on more than many occasions superstars hold out and not abide by their contract and just get traded down the line. And I think that with a talent like this, with what he's seen, albeit he's only played 84 games in 3 seasons, I think the Pelicans are in a good situation because you can build for him and try to build for him and try to sell him the direction of this team going forward, being better. And if it doesn't work out, you can get a lot for the kid. And everybody in the NBA is going to want Zion Williamson. So I think it's not a bad case.
To the point about marketability, playing for the Knicks is huge. We get it.
Enormous.
Get it. But even then, I push back on that because this isn't the 80s. This isn't the 90s. This isn't the 2000s. We are in the age of social media. We are in the age of, it doesn't matter where you live in the world, you can be big time. Right now, who right now
Jokic is big in Denver.
Who is one? I think he's actually doesn't get enough attention, but John Morant's one of the faces of the league right now. He's getting pushed. He's in Memphis.
But you even just said it. Joker doesn't get pushed enough. He's in Denver.
I think it's because of his play style.
Okay.
Just speaking, because we know Ja's a high flyer. Bro, Zion's highlights would be on ESPN all the time,
Yeah.
with the Pelicans.
And imagine he was on the Knicks.
Okay, but let me tell you
that'd
this.
be sick.
Let me tell you
They'd
this.
go crazy
Let me
for
tell you
him.
this. Zion comes into the Pelicans as a rookie. They have the most national television games.
Second
They
most.
have the most nationally
second most.
To my
televised
point,
games.
I think they were trying to push
No,
him to be the face. Yeah,
They were. So he was getting all those national TV
still are.
slots. They are
because
occasionally.
he's not even playing. They're still getting nationally
But they
televised
still
games.
get
They got
that.
one tonight against the Lakers.
Like Dame in Portland has been a superstar draw since forever. Like I understand a place like San Antonio, but even then it was because of how San Antonio played, their brand of basketball.
What about Dame though? Dame used to get left off All-Star games and all NBA teams at times because of the fact that
Devin
he was
Booker.
in Portland and that he
Devin
didn't
Booker.
get that type of attention.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker got left off because he wasn't winning. And I'll say this, to your point about Dame, that's a valid point, but we've seen already Zion in year 2 make the All-Star game, so that hasn't affected him.
But can we just be honest? You come to the Knicks, it's a different level of support.
I'm
that
not
you
saying
lose.
I'm not saying that it's not a
So
different level. I know it's a different
with every
level.
situation.
It's-
marketing
I
as
know it's
well,
a different
bro.
level, but Zion is still going. If he plays well and comes back and plays to what I know he can play like, he's still going to be one of the faces of
And
the
I
league.
don't- and I definitely agree.
LeBron was in
Definitely.
You got to also
Cleveland.
remember too though, Zion in high school was already bigger than NBA players.
Definitely.
So the fan base came like
Oh,
I'm going
not,
back to
not
the-
even that, but like LeBron, he went to Cleveland. That's not.
Well, I'm
a
going back
big
to
Well, that's his
I'm going back
hometown,
to-
though.
I'm
I
going
think
back
that
to-
played
hometown,
into
but
it.
That's
it's
that's different too
Cleveland,
because
though.
LeBron in high school
He was a
just
dog.
like
Like, he
that's
was-
why I'm going back to
he
the
was on
Dame
Sports
Zion,
Illustrated.
anywhere he goes is going to be he already has
Facts.
a
No, he's
100
definitely box
he already
office.
has a $100 million sneaker deal. What does he got? What does he have to go to New York for endorsements?
Because
for?
in high school, he
he
was already-
already
he was
has
already that guy.
$100 million with the sneaker
College.
deal with Jordan. He has no reason to be like, oh, I want to go to the Knicks so I could get $500 million in endorsements. Like, bro, you already got a $100 million sneaker deal. I think the last thing on his mind is endorsements, going to play in New York because of that reason. I think if he wants to go to New York, it's
Would you
because
be surprised if he ends up in New York?
no, I would not be
RJ's
surprised
there.
at all. But I do
Your
think
legacy
And Cam
gets
now.
put to a different level when you come win in New York.
Oh, it's 100%.
we look. I understand the
100%.
I understand the sentiment of what you're saying, but the bottom line is that we have no real way to measure that statement because it hasn't happened in 50
Jeremy
years.
Lin, he came in and he was unbelievable, and the city
That
was
was
in
for like
uproar.
a 2-week span. though.
Okay, and you want to
Exactly.
Want to
my
know what
point.
else?
Span.
Imagine that 2 weeks of a guy playing out of his mind, but
you-
turn the
Okay,
city
but
upside
guess
down.
what? But guess what? I'll do a counterpoint to you.
That'd be hard, but
No, it's a good one. Trust me. Zion Williamson, basically what you're saying is that if you can bring a championship to New York, imagine what it does to your legacy. You know who followed that advice?
Hello.
Carmelo. You know,
and the city was going crazy in support
at
for
first,
Amari and him.
at
And then
first,
you saw how they kicked him
the
out of
way
there, how
the
they
way
didn't
it
want him there
ended.
anymore.
Every single Knicks fan turned their back on Melo in the end, and now we love him again.
because he didn't deliver the championship.
But what we supposed to do when Alexei Shved was starting?
I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
Small market teams would never give up on you.
No, I
They
agree.
never give up
No,
on
I
you.
Guess
agree.
what? Guess what
But that's
team?
that was
guess
the
what
whole
team-
point of what I'm saying.
Guess what
it's not a
team still-
weak-minded thing.
Guess what team still loves Russell Westbrook?
Okay, see.
OKC. They love that man to death.
Yeah.
Despite all the first round exits,
They
the
die
3
with him.
straight ones, they love that man to death.
He's Mr. Oklahoma City Thunder, bro.
Julius Randle gave us an all NBA season, made the playoffs last year. 20 games in, Knicks fans gave up on him again. This is what I'm saying. Like, you're basically saying, Zion, you have to deliver a championship, and anything short of that, if you have playoff failures, this city's going to turn on you.
Correct.
Why would you want that?
That's not what I want. I'm
But
just
why?
telling
But why would a player want that?
because it gets to a point when you know the skill set that you have and you know the trajectory of where you want to go. New Orleans, he wins the championship with them. Of course, he's
Oh,
going to
that'd be an amazing
he's
feat.
He's going
But
to
you
be.
don't think? Let me ask you a quick question.
But do you understand what I'm saying? It's New
I
York.
know I get what you're
It's
saying.
a different
but
vibe.
my thing with that is you don't think like growing like you get drafted. Like say for example you get drafted to whatever a team that doesn't have a championship, the Kings, right? And you grow with that team. You get better with that team. You make all NBA teams. You make MVPs, and then you eventually get to the chip. You win that. The growth,
Giannis.
yeah, the
Yeah,
growth
like
from when you
Giannis.
started to where you finally got to the big one, that the way you grew with the team, the way they watched you grow up as a man with the team, you don't think that's bigger than just you going, JC going, leaving, what's another team that don't got a chip, leaving Portland after year 3 and going to a big market like Miami or the Knicks and then saying, yeah, I got my chip, we bought our chip.
Again,
Milwaukee
grew
is
with
another
this team.
small market too.
Yeah, like
No, that's what I was saying.